Hey, how you doing? So I want to say welcome to the MediSoul podcast, and I'm your host, Holly Janes, founder of MediSoul Wellness. And this is the podcast where I talk about spirituality, meditation, the paranormal, and absolutely everything in between. So let's just take a nice deep breath in and breathe out, and let's begin. So in this particular topic, we are going to be talking about, are you psychic? I'm going to give you a quick answer. Yes, you are. Everybody is. Everybody is psychic. Everybody is psychic to different degrees, but everybody is psychic. So let's begin. What exactly is it to be psychic? What does that mean? Psychic abilities are your six senses. So you have the seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touch, right? So the sixth sense is that inner knowing. But you also could psychically see, psychically hear, psychically know things, psychically taste things, psychically smell things, and psychically feel things. So those are the six main clairs that we are going to talk about. So let's talk about each one of these psychic senses. The first, clairvoyance. Clairvoyance means to psychically see, clear seeing. So to see things in a clairvoyant way, you're seeing it. It could be a couple ways. It could be in your mind. So maybe you see an image or a movie playing in your head. Almost like when you read a book. Some people, when they read a book, they see the movie. It's like the book plays in their head like a movie. That's clairvoyance because you're seeing it in your mind. The other side to that is you see things with your eyes. These are people who can see ghosts and other types of things. It's like they can see on the spectrum of ghosts, because ghosts are kind of on the visual spectrum of our eyes, on the outside of what we can see. Some people have broader vision and can actually see these ghosts because they have more cones in their eyes, so they can see more. Clairvoyance is the ability to see things psychically, whether it's mentally or actually with your eyes. The next one is clairaudience. This is clear hearing. This is being able to hear things either with your ears or in your mind like a telepathic thought. And the reason why clairaudience is you hear something in your mind is maybe you're not seeing this ghost. Let's just go with the ghost. Maybe you're not seeing the ghost, but you can hear it. You can't hear it with your ears, but you can hear it like it's talking to you telepathically. That's clairaudience. There are people who can hear with their ears. The spirit world. Anthony William, the medical medium, is one of these people. There's quite a few people out there who can hear these things. Now, think of it this way. Have you ever had your name being called? You went to maybe a haunted location or on a haunted tour, or you lived in a house that was haunted and you heard something. You heard your name being called, or you heard somebody say something to you. That's clairaudience. That is you being able to hear with your ears the spirit world talking to you. The majority of conversations you're going to get from the spiritual world are going to be telepathic. They're going to put ideas in your head. They're going to have you know things in your head. You're going to have a conversation that way. That's more common. The reason why is because it's not that easy for the spirit world to talk to you through our means. They can't talk the way that we can. They can say things and I definitely have seen quite a few videos recently where ghosts or something are knocking on people's doors and they're saying, hey, let me in, open the door, which is fascinating. If it's legit, that is super fascinating, but it's not the common thing. So the majority of the way you might hear things is through your telepathic, but you may hear them with your ears. Then the next one is claircognizant. So claircognizant means clear knowing, and it's the ability to know something without any logical reason or prior information. So you just know the answer. You just know something. This is one of the most common psychic gifts that people have. And one of the reasons why it gets ignored a lot is because people don't listen that often. They don't associate their just knowing something with claircognizant. They just think, oh, that's weird, and kind of move on. Some ways that claircognizant could happen is, let's say you meet someone and you just know that this person is pregnant or has done bad things or is somebody you really need to watch your back on or something like that. You just know. Maybe you can tell something's going to change in your workplace and it does. This is claircognizant. You just know. So another one of your clairs is clairsentience. This is clear feeling, and this is the ability to sense or feel emotions, energy, or physical sensations of people, places, or events. If you are empathic, you have this gift. Empaths are people who have the ability to read other people's emotions. And a lot of people are empathic without even knowing it. So if you are the type of person that goes into a room where there's a bunch of people and you can get overwhelmed very easily, there's too many people, you get anxious, there's too much going on in your system and it seems like anxiety, and you just feel like you're on sensory overload, chances are pretty good you're empathic. Empaths feel the room. The best way to tell if you're empathic is not to go to a crowded place where there's a ton of people, because you're going to get overwhelmed really fast and you're just going to assume you have anxiety. When in reality, if you start working one-on-one with people and if you can tell, like, let's say your friend is sad and they're not saying anything and they're not acting a certain way, but you just know they're sad. Do you ask? Do you say, "Are you sad?" And do they go, "Yes, actually I am." That's an empathic ability. That is clairsentience. That's the ability to feel their emotions. You could do that with, not everybody is easy to read either. So maybe there's certain people you can't do that with, but if you do go into a place and you just get overwhelmed, chances are very good you're probably empathic. The other thing is picking up the emotions and energies of places. You go into a home and immediately you're like, this house is haunted, and you can feel, because you're going to be able to feel the energy and the emotions of the ghosts as well. This isn't just specific to the living. The other thing is events. You know, going to, like I said, large groups of people, where there's large groups of people, lots of people going on, there's a lot of emotions going on. There's a lot of different things happening all at the same time, and that can be overwhelming. But most of the time, if you're clairsentient, you are empathic. Okay, next one is clairalliance. This one is not as strong, and it's clear smelling. And this is the ability to receive psychic information through scent, without any physical source present. If you have this ability, you would go to a place and maybe you could smell perfume. Maybe you could smell cigar smoke or cigarette smoke when nobody around is wearing perfume or smoking. Maybe you can smell food or different types of scents that indicate what might have been in that location in the past. It's not a super common ability, but it is one. And then the last is clairgustance, and this is clear tasting. And this is the ability to receive psychic information through taste without any physical source. So you might be able to taste food that is connected to, let's say, a spirit, or receive a message through some kind of flavor. Clairalliance, which is the smelling, and clairgustance, which is the tasting, are not the most common of the psychic gifts. The most common ones are claircognizant, which is knowing information, clairsentience, which is feeling the information, and then clairaudience, hearing it, and clairvoyance, which is seeing it. These are the 6 different types of psychic abilities. So why do I say everybody is psychic? Because everybody has these abilities. you're going to have one of these abilities being your strongest. Then you're going to have one that is your second strongest, one that's your third, all the way to the last. So one of them is going to be your strongest sense, and one of them is going to be your weakest sense. But you do have all of these. And chances are very good you're using all of these constantly in your everyday life and don't even know it. With clear seeing and clairvoyance, you may see things out of the corner of your eye and just kind of look and there's nobody there. Maybe you see things in your head. That's how it was for me. I see things in my head. I have seen things with my eyes. I have seen ghosts. I have seen UFOs. I have seen a lot of things with my eyes. But the majority of my clairvoyance is in my head. And the reason why is because that's where I have the most control. So I keep it there. And I learned during a psychic development class, and it was a meditation class as well, that the teacher said sometimes you're going to see things in your head. And I remember saying in that class, wait a minute, are you saying that all of the things that I have been seeing my entire life in my head are real? And she kind of laughed a little bit. This was the teacher. And she said yes. And that changed my world because I see a lot of things in my head that are very, very odd. For example, I'll give you an example of this. Years ago, when I was a kid, before I knew any of this stuff, I was dealing with a lot of strange things, paranormal type strange things, but I didn't fully understand what it was. One time, I was leaving a friend's house, and she lived at the end of the road where my house was, and she was at the end. So I was walking back from her house, and it was dark out, and I was walking on a dirt road. And if you've ever walked on a dirt road, and I'm sure you have, then you know that the rocks and the gravel crunch beneath your feet as you walk. So that's what was happening. Now, at the time, I think I was probably 11 or 12 years old, and I heard somebody walking behind me because I heard the same crunch. So I would stop, and I wouldn't hear it anymore. So then I would start walking, and then I would hear it. That's clairaudient, okay? Because I'm hearing something. So I thought somebody was following me. So I would stop and turn around. Mind you, it is dark out. So I finally started walking and got to the neighbor's house who had a porch light on, which lit up the street. So once I got there, I turned around. Now, I didn't see anything with my eyes. I saw something in my head. The thing that I saw in my head was this creature that was much taller than me. It had to have been probably 7 feet tall. Half of it looked like a goat. The bottom half looked like a goat. It had dark brown fur and goat legs. And then the top half of it was a man. But it was like an elongated man. Like it had a very long torso. And this thing was very, very pale. The fur was brown. The skin from the human part was like grayish pale color. This thing had jet black, wet hair hanging down in front of its face, and it was basically snarling at me. It looked like a human face, but not. This I saw in my head. This I had never seen anywhere in my entire life. Whatever it was, I booked it and started running. By the time I got to my house, I had convinced myself I have a really super cool, overactive imagination. And I believed that. Right up until I went to that class where the teacher said sometimes you see things in your head. That's also clairvoyance. That's what I saw. That's when I realized I see a lot of things in my head, and over the years I have validated it. So, have you had an experience like that? Have you seen things in your head? Like, for another example, there was this time that I met this person. And I had just met this person. Somebody that I knew introduced me to this person. And right away in my head, I saw one of those street barrier horses, you know, those wooden things with the flashing yellow lights that warn you danger, danger, danger. That's what I saw when I saw this person. And so I told my friend, not this one. Don't hang out with this person. This person's got stuff wrong with them. I don't know what it is, just not this one. Again, this was before I started taking psychic development classes. I just knew, not this one, which is also the claircognizant. I knew by what I was seeing, this person's bad. Come to find out, this person was cheating and lying and had multiple people that they were dating, and it was exactly what I said. Don't deal with this one. And they ignored me and should have listened to me. So, have you had something like this? Maybe it was subtle. Maybe it was major. Maybe you already know you're clairvoyant. But stop and think about your life. Because your psychic abilities are trying to come forward. Your clairvoyance may be trying to break through and you keep rationalizing it. Stop rationalizing it and just kind of let it unfold. What's the worst thing that happens if you think something or see something in a clairvoyant way and you tell somebody and you're wrong? What's going to happen? Well, absolutely nothing. You're just wrong. Most psychics get things wrong. Nobody is 100% because there's room for error, there's room for misjudgment, and there's room for people to shift a different direction. So give it a shot. Try and see if instead of overanalyzing your images in your head or whatever you're getting that you're seeing with your eyes, don't overanalyze it. Don't brush it off and just kind of be like, okay, let's see what happens. Let's look at clairaudience. Clairaudience is going to come at you through your ears. Okay, so you're either going to hear it or you're going to hear it in your head telepathically. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever gone into that haunted place and heard somebody talking, just like I said? Now, maybe you have. So what happens if you talk back? Let's say you talk back. Let's say that you do hear somebody say something. And often what people do is they run. And they get scared and they run away because it's creepy, it's freaky, you're not seeing anyone, so you don't understand what you're dealing with. Talk to it safely. But you can do this in your head too. You can be like, I heard you. And then they're not going to say anything back because they really can't. So start listening in your mind. Does a thought come on in your head? Like if you heard someone say, hey, and instead of going, oh my God, and running away, do you stop and go, okay, I heard you. What do you want? You may get an idea in your head. You may get a thought. You may get an image. The more you can just kind of let that info flow, the more you're going to develop it. When you start overanalyzing it and shutting it out and thinking that you're making it up, you're going to turn it off. The key to any of your psychic abilities is to let them grow. What about claircognizant? Now, this is one of the absolute most common. You just know. Maybe you don't know every little detail that's going to happen in every single day. Maybe you just know you're driving down the street and something just tells you, I got to get off this road, and you take a detour and then come to find out that there was an accident. Or maybe you avoided traffic or something like that. Maybe you just know when you meet someone, I don't trust you, or I think you're the best person ever. Maybe you have this sense of knowing about different things. It could be weather. It could be illnesses people have. It could be, good things like people are getting married or people are having kids or, nobody has told anybody, but you just know. And how do you develop this? You just go with your gut feeling. You don't think. As soon as you start thinking in all of your psychic abilities, you lose them. That's when you start losing your psychic ability because you overanalyze it. And you start sitting there and going, yeah, I feel like that this person might not be the best person and I really shouldn't talk to them because I'm getting a vibe that they're just not this nice. But at the same time, I don't want to be judgmental. I don't want to, assume that this person is not a nice person. They haven't really done anything to me, only to find out that you were right in the first place. What would have happened in your life if you had listened to your own inner voice, your claircognizant, and just listened? Seriously. What would have happened? You would have avoided a situation that probably caused a lot of problems in your life. Those are lessons. That's a lesson. Listen. You need to listen. The next is the clear feeling. Now, the clear feeling is like maybe you can touch something, like you can feel energy. If you've ever gone ghost hunting, and if you're using those items, those tools, the gadgets, like ghost boxes and different things like that, you are kind of shutting down your psychic ability and letting a tool do it for you because you believe I can't hear them. So you're not even trying. You're just letting a box tell you what a ghost is saying when you can just telepathically talk to them. Same thing with the feeling. Let's say you are using one of those. Maybe you're not clairvoyant, you're not clairaudient. Maybe those are like your weaker signs. So you're using the tools to kind of tell you when there's a ghost. Okay, put your hand out. Can you feel an energy difference? Because you can feel energy differences when there's a ghost around. It shifts. Sometimes it feels tingly. Sometimes it feels cold. Sometimes it feels warm. Sometimes it feels thick and heavy, almost like you're putting your hand through like Jello. Whatever it feels like, you're looking for those differences. Like I already said, you're probably empathic, so you can read the room. So if you're reading the room, but you can also use the empathic ability to feel the energy in the room as well. Reiki would be a really good thing for you to do because you're really good at clairsentient. So you can feel things. So Reiki, energy healing, those are probably your really strong suits. And how would you know if you don't try? Have you ever tried to become a Reiki, like not professional, but Reiki trained? Or you don't have to work with clients to be trained in Reiki or any other energy healing modality. This would be some way to tell if you've got the clairsentient ability. Now, clairalliance and clairgustance, this is smelling and tasting, and there are people who can do that. And honestly, I think that if you have clairgustance or clairalliance, you probably have both of these because these are not as common. It does happen, but it usually happens sporadically for most people where you just happen to be in a room and you can smell something or you can smell it and taste it. Sometimes people are around a ghost that died with blood and they'll taste that metal iron kind of taste in their mouth, which indicates, I taste blood, which tells the person, this is somebody who might have died from something dealing with their head. Those are how you could use those. But here's the thing. With every single one of these psychic abilities, every psychic ability is based on these 6 senses. If you look at automatic writing or psychometry, tarot reading, pendulums, pick any divination tool. It's based on these clairs. And the tool that is going to be best for you is going to depend on which one of these clairs is your strongest sense. And whichever one is your weakest is probably not the tools for you. Some people do phenomenal with these tools. They need these tools because they help them focus their psychic ability. Some people don't need tools at all. They can just do what they do. But everybody has these 6 clairs. So when I said at the very beginning of this entire thing, are you psychic? Yes, because everyone is psychic. This is why. Now you've got people who turn this stuff off. They don't want to know. They don't want to develop these things. And they don't have to develop these things. No one has to be psychic. Some of this stuff scares people and they don't want to know that they have these abilities. But some people have these clairs, and most psychics have most of them at different levels, but you do have most of them, and they use most of them. But everybody has them, and if you are dealing with any of these types of clairs or senses or anything like that, and you want to develop it, go for it. Some people are meant to develop these skills. Some people have no choice, and they're born with these gifts wide open. Some people have to develop them to get them to open, and some people have to struggle a little bit to open some of these. Everybody has them. Not everybody wants to focus on them. And if you're someone that is already open and wide open, the next thing is, do you know how to control this? Because even though you already are open to all 6 of your clairs, like I said, you have a strong one and then a weakest one. So there's a list of which one's your strongest. If you're already open to these, are they in control? Because these abilities can be so strong, they can cause problems in your life. You know, if you're not used to being empathic, or nobody told you you're empathic, and you go into a room and you just think you have anxiety whenever you're around people, when in reality you're overloaded with energy, well, it's in your best interest to decide if you want to discover this and go down this path and figure out how to control it. Because all of these abilities are cool, but they come in kind of wild. You have to learn how to control these things. If you talk to any psychic out there who works professionally or has been doing this for years, they will tell you they had a lot of stumbling years where they had to learn how to keep these abilities in control. So I understand, because I talk to a lot of people who always say, I want to open up my psychic gifts, but they don't always know what that means. And what that means is you're opening up gifts that are going to require you to do some work, do some inner work, do a lot of psychic development training, but also know that you're going to fumble in the dark until you figure out how you work. Not all of these clairs work the same for everybody. Everybody who has these gifts, they work differently. Not all psychics are the same. Psychics all have different gifts. They have different abilities, and they know how to use them because they've had this in their life, their whole lives, and they've made mistakes. So if you want to open these gifts, understand that it takes work, but there's going to be points where you've got to learn how to do this. And sometimes when these gifts open up, a floodgate comes through, and it can be extremely overwhelming. So definitely look into your psychic abilities. I'm not going to sit here and tell you you shouldn't. I think everybody should. But do it in a way that is comfortable for you. Don't put yourself in situations you're not comfortable with. And if you want to open up one at a time, go for it. The only way you're going to know which one of these you have is to really stop overanalyzing. Let your mind, relax about I think I just made this up and none of it is real, because that's not going to help you. Let it just flow. Trust your gut, trust your intuition, trust what you naturally believe to be true, and then test it. And if you get something wrong, so what? That might not be your strongest clair. That's fine. You didn't see the ghost in the house. That doesn't mean that you're not psychic. It just means that might not be your best suit to see them. Maybe you should hear them. Maybe you just know they're there. Whatever it is. This is pretty much what I have to say for the psychic abilities today. I hope that you got some information out of this that was helpful, but I do want to say thank you very much for spending some time with me today. And if you found that this information was useful or helpful, I do have MediSoul Wellness is my online school that teaches you how to use meditation to connect to these gifts. It's an ever-growing school that I am developing. And if you're interested, check it out. I have a membership and it gives you full access to every course, every guided meditation, everything that I have to offer. I do have blog posts that you can read, and it's worth checking out. I also have a community as part of it. So I want to say again, thank you very much for listening to this. And, if you want more info, go to the description and click the links. All right. I'll see you in the next one.